Welcome to a series that we call The End of Times, where we look at biblical prophecy to try to understand what Jesus was referring to as the end of the age in Matthew 24. Many of the Old Testament prophets, as well as Jesus Christ himself, and then all throughout the New Testament, talk about this coming of a new age where Christ returns to earth. Now, we spent our first two episodes looking at how we can know we are in that season. So if you have that as a question mark, take a look at episode 1 and 2. Then we spent the next several episodes going through Revelation verse by verse until we've gotten to the point where we are now. And that's our goal in this, is to continue through Revelation verse by verse until we can get to finally a great and tremendous clear understanding of what it is we can expect and what our role is during that tribulation as well. We just finished Jesus's messages to the churches. Now, these messages are to the churches of the world today and yesterday. To suggest that these are only the letters to churches that are dead is ridiculous, because Jesus refers to the churches as the seven lampstands. And even as we're about to find out, when you get into the throne room of heaven, those lampstands sit before God. There's no way that you can tell me that the lampstands in the throne room of God are seven dead churches. They're absolutely the churches today. It is your church and my church. If you call yourself a Christian, you fit in those descriptions that Jesus gives of both really just a view of how awful the church is, whoring itself out in the world today as never before. And there is, of course, some good in there as well. But now that we have finished that, we're taking off to a whole new chapter in Revelation. What we're about to see is a moment in God's ordained time. God himself has ordained a time for the coming of his Son, Jesus Christ, to return on earth and literally rule on earth as King of the earth. And that time has been ordained throughout all the old prophets. But when it comes to time, when it comes to God's time, we're not talking about ticks on a clock. What we're talking about is a culmination of events. So we're just going to jump right in. And again, everything we've read up until this point is stuff that is happening or has happened. Everything's changing moving forward. So we're going to pick up in Revelation 4, verse 1. After these things I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me. And that, of course, is Jesus Christ, saying, "Come up here, and I will show you things which must take place after this." Immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. So everything prior to this event has already taken place. Everything leading after this is about to take place. And what we're about to see is everything that this book, this entire book, the Holy Bible, says is about to take place, is about to take place. Now Jesus tells him, "Come up here and I will show you things which must take place after this." So before we get into what it is we're about to see, I want to take a moment and talk about Revelation in general, the book itself. Because what we're about to see is the throne room of God and some events that will take place in the throne room of God, but those are taking place on earth as well. We're just seeing them through the view of the throne room of God. Revelation will also then cover those same events, but more in the spiritual realm, and then it'll cover it again, but more in a literal sense. So you can't read Revelation straight through and think of it as a storyline that follows one event to the next, because it kind of keeps going back and telling the same story again, just in a different way. But what is it that we're about to see? What is it that had to be tied up until this moment, this event, this prophetic event that God said it is sealed up until the appointed time? So we're going to go back to Daniel real quick, Daniel 12. It's the very end of Daniel. And 12:1, moving forward, says, "At that time Michael will stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation. Even to that time, and at that time your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. So what we are about to see in the throne room of God is the opening of that prophecy written by Daniel, the actual revealing of it, the bringing it into reality. Daniel was told, just seal it up until the end time. And now what we're about to see in the throne room of God is that prophecy being unsealed and revealed. And when God reveals something in His Word, it becomes reality. Everything that is written in that scroll is set in God's hands until everything in His words lines up perfectly. And we discussed this in the very beginning in episode 1, and we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at Habakkuk, because everything that we're about to see in the throne room of God will take place only when the Lamb and His appointed time starts breaking those seals. So let's take a look at Habakkuk real quick. We're going to go back to Habakkuk 2:3. Or 2:2 through 3. Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Then, and only then, the Lamb of God will loose those seals one by one, letting loose a time of trouble the world has never seen. And that's really in our best interest as Christians to try to understand. So as we kind of gaze into this throne room of God, it's important that what we're about to see are things that are about to take place. But the revelation of Jesus Christ is not a terrible story in the end. The revelation of Jesus Christ is really a time of trouble where people's essentially their strength and their courage and their tenacity are tested. And this time of testing, which we talked about last time, which you can be saved from, this time of testing will essentially test people, and there will be a time of tribulation that is very, very difficult. But this incredibly difficult time ends with one of the most beautiful endings in the world, that you reign on earth, literally here on earth with Jesus Christ. It's a beautiful story. So as we watch these seals be broken one by one, and what the Bible has said is about to let loose on the earth is then let loose, it's very important as Christians. We have a huge role and a huge responsibility in that. And it's very important we understand what that role is and what we can expect so we can navigate this tribulation accordingly. It's fascinating what's about to take place. But before we see that, I don't really feel like we should go into the throne room of God and not look around a little bit, because what you're about to see in the throne room of God is incredibly fascinating, just filled with just very strange creatures and an incredible beauty that is unlike anything we'll ever see on this earth. So this episode itself is important that we see that everything the old prophets said would happen, everything that Daniel and Habakkuk said would happen, and everything that Jesus Christ said would happen is about to happen. And that's kind of the turning point of this episode, that we have been essentially given this opportunity to glimpse into heaven and see what it's going to look like when these seals are broken. And it's about to let loose on the earth with just a simple and sudden breaking of the seal. So you guys, thanks for joining us again. Next time, we're going to take a look at what this throne room looks like. And then after that, we're going to get straight into the breaking of the seals one by one and what we can expect and what it looks like in God's throne room during that time as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Definitely put them in the comments below. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. But if you like this video, click like and subscribe. If you feel called to support our channel through Patreon, that link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.